Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2022 film Alone at Night. Although it was kind of released to be more available in 2023, so some people may consider it as a 2023 film. I'm going to tell you up front, everyone should watch every film at least once to decide how they personally feel about it. That means, if you've been watching my channel long enough, that I was not a fan of this film. I have a lot of problems with it. I'll point out the good and the bad like I normally do, but this is also a no spoiler review. I'm not going to spoil anything. If it is a film you're interested in, I actually watched it through Vudu. It was only $7 to rent, so I'm totally down to pay a little money to support filmmakers, even if I didn't end up liking the film. So let's get into it. Alone at Night. Directed by Jimmy Giannopoulos, who also did Beautiful and The Birthday Cake. Have not seen any of those. Written by Giannopoulos as well as Diomedes, Raul, Bermudez, who hadn't written anything else. Originally, this film was titled 18 and Over, which is the name of the cam site in the film. I think Alone at Night, whatever, 18 and Over may have been a better title, in my opinion. Although, it would be a more catching title that would get the eye of people thinking, oh, this is, it's going to be like more nudity, more sex to it, more violence, more gore. And that wouldn't really be the case, unfortunately. They come up short on a lot of that stuff. I'm fine with them coming up short on like the sexual aspect and the nudity, but I really wanted some good kills. I really wanted some good gore, and you did not get that at all. Not even close. Quick synopsis. It's about a woman who is a cam girl for a profession. And she goes away. This is during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, like the thick of it. And she goes away to a secluded cabin that her friend's family owns. And she's alone at night. And it's a horror film. I don't want to say too much for anyone who actually wants to watch it, because I'm not looking to ruin these films at all, even though I'm not a fan of it. Opening credits are pretty long and boring. And I kind of question the choice to do opening credits, because a lot of films have gone away from that. They just will give you like a little scene in the beginning, then give you the title card, and then do the movie, and then do credits at the end. So I don't really understand doing credits in the beginning and the end. That's a very old thing, so I just question that choice off the bat. And it takes a long time. Like, already you're feeling like the pacing is terrible for these opening credits. And it is kind of an indication of what's coming for the actual film itself. The pacing is not very good. And if you've been watching my channel long enough, that's something I do harp on, because it's something that's a pet peeve of mine. It is established very quickly and effectively that this is during the thick of the pandemic. Now, the interesting thing is, the whole pandemic aspect of the film isn't really even important. So I don't understand why you would purposefully set it in that type of setting and make a point of pointing that out, when it doesn't really play much of any role, except for it heightening the isolation feeling. But it really doesn't do that. Like, you could have just kept it as she's going away to a secluded cabin that her friend owns just because she wants to get away. Like, that's it. Like, the whole pandemic thing doesn't really factor in, except every now and then she's like, oh, I'm going to be careful. You don't have COVID, do you? I mean, like, it adds nothing to the story, so I just don't get it. But then again, in my opinion, the script on this is not good. The first kill is kind of lame, and the way it's shot is way too choppy, so it becomes very hard to follow what's actually going on. This sets up what the whole film will end up being like, especially with the kills. The kills are awful, in my opinion. The kill, like any scuffling that goes on, any kills that end up happening, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, it's so chopped up, and the camera is like so close in on things that you can't even see what's going on. And there's no good gore. There's no practical effects. It's just lame. It's lame. They put in some clips from a fake reality show, and it is unbelievably annoying. The content itself of the fake reality show is extremely annoying. But then it also destroys any momentum the film had built up when they kind of throw it in there. It seems 100% unrelated. It's not 100% unrelated, but it seems like that when you're watching it. And in the end, when you understand that it is related to some degree, you're still like, why did you make this choice? Like, I don't know why they chose to do this. It seems like an idea someone had, they didn't run it past anyone, and just they thought it was a good idea. And most everyone else is, when they saw it after the fact, it's like, yeah, I don't understand this choice. So really poor choice on that one as well. There's a creepy online dude in this because of the cam girl. His voice ends up being modulated, and the way they play it, so over the top, it's so ridiculous, I had to laugh. Like, you don't need to do that. You can just have it in, like, chat function. You don't need to be at, like, a cam-to-cam type thing. Just saying, there are better ways to get around making the film look worse. The main character is flimsy. All the characters are super flimsy. There's no depth to any character. No character goes through any sort of, development. There's no interesting anything as far as characters go. They are very paper thin. Again, this goes back to poor script writing. The acting is not great either. There is some acting that is decent, but there's some acting that is not decent. There's no one who's outright terrible, but it's when they're not great, it's kind of like, they're not that good. Script writing is very basic, once again. That's the story and the actual writing aspect of it. There's a lot in the dark, and at many points, the lighting is too little. This was extremely annoying. Another thing I like to harp on if films do it is you need to be able to see what's going on even though it's dark. There is a way to light those situations properly, and they did not do that a bunch of times in this film. It's super annoying when you can't see what you're trying to look at. Ridiculous. You know what's worse than watching high people tripping? Watching people acting like they're high and tripping. Because there's a scene of that in this film. It means nothing to the film at all. I didn't understand that whole situation. But yeah, very weird, very awkward, and kind of like maybe a little bit laughably bad. Some people could get a good chuckle out of it. But yeah, watching people who are acting like they're high and tripping, definitely worse than watching people who are actually high and tripping. It's just weird. Not enough really happens in this film. They spend lots of time introducing new characters in a very abrupt ways. I assume that's kind of like a red herring type thing. They're like, we need to introduce a bunch of characters. It's kind of like Giallo films would do this. We need to throw in a bunch of characters, even briefly, that are introduced so that people have a large group to choose from. Like, who is the killer, So that's what they're doing, but none of the characters are very interesting. They keep introducing these characters in very odd ways that don't really seem very believable, and then they're just kind of gone. It's just like, I don't know. It seems so random. It doesn't have good flow to it at all. Awful camera work at the end that is much too close and moves way too much when you're trying to see what's going on. This is going back to what I was talking about with the first kill and the kind of tone it sets for the entire film, that in the more like intense moments, you're not going to be able to see what's going on. You will not know what's happening, and that's a terrible thing for a film like this. You want your audience to see what's happening. You want them to know what's going on in the film. Just bad execution. They tried to do something interesting at the end, and it's a poor idea. Much like the idea of just putting in all these fake reality show clips, the thing they try and do at the end to be clever, also just a terrible idea. It seems, again, like someone just like quickly was like, I got an idea, let's do this, and no one questioned them. Not because they thought it was a good idea, but because probably that person had a lot of pull, and they just did it, and everyone was kind of like gritted their teeth and let it happen. It was, man, just not a great way to end the film at all. I was kind of like, okay, that's a choice. You did something. I think this film is trying to show depth to someone who does online sex work, because most people don't really think that way in society. So I think it's trying to do a kind of like nicer thing where they're making the main character an online sex worker, a cam girl, to kind of like endear her to audience, because I believe we do have a problem in society where people look at sex workers as less than, and that's ridiculous. They are people. They are people doing a job that pays money. Everyone is doing a job that pays money, and it's a legitimate job. So I think that's kind of their aim, but it doesn't do what they're trying to very effectively, because like I said, the characters are so flimsy and the script is so poorly written. So, I mean, A for effort on trying to like make your main character a cam girl and like have people kind of like feel for her in ways, but it just didn't get there, unfortunately. So, out of 5 stars with half stars in play, this is a 1-star film for me. I did not like it at all, but very interested to hear other people's opinions, especially if you liked it. Go ahead and tell me about that in the comments. We could talk spoilers in the comments too. That is totally cool. Love it, hate it in between. Just give me like a sentence or two at least, letting me know why you liked it, hated it, or we're in between on it. Do me a quick favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. Plus, it's the best way for you to repay me for all this free content I put out. And if you like any video, including this one, also hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. I'm doing at least 3 or 4 a week, which I think is a good amount, putting in a lot of work. So help me out here. Regardless, I really thank you for taking your time to watch this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.